Okay, welcome to the Tuesday evening AquaStax live stream with me, Long Steve. So, what were we up to? I was doing a load of refactoring, wasn't I? I finally got round to honouring my catchphrase of I'll refactor that later by actually refactoring some code. And I had written myself a little note here. First major refactor, to refactor, decide best place to handle collision. Dropping blocks sometimes stick when they're not supposed to. Yes, so I think I'm not going to do any more refactoring just yet. I won't worry about the collision detection and where it's going to go. What I'm going to do today is try and fix up a few of the minor bugs and niggles that have occurred. Some things like I notice here, blocks dropping or getting stuck when they're not supposed to. I noticed something else just a few minutes ago. I was just checking my code to make sure it was still working. Sometimes things happen for no reason at all from one week to the next. Even if you don't actually change anything or upgrade anything or even power your computer on, when you power it back on again after a week of not doing something. I haven't actually been using my Mac very much. I've been using my PC for lots of development during the week. Suddenly things stopped working. So I was just checking to kill a bit of time. And luckily it did still work, but I noticed another bug, and that was that 2x2 blocks can sometimes fall through the bottom of the grid. So they don't stick at the bottom, or they fall into the bottom of the grid. Let me change that. Fall into the bottom of the grid. Let's see if I can demonstrate that. Let's fire up Chrome. I have Chrome there. And log into the game. I already started my gulp task up, so it's being served off a web server. And there was a third thing I wanted to do. I wanted to have a look at this collision area that's being calculated for the falling blocks, because they're not quite right yet. And I think that bears some relation to the blocks getting stuck when they shouldn't, because the collision testing is done in the wrong place. Actually, this block's not. I want to make that one. This one. I think what I was seeing was if I let it drop to the bottom of the screen. Now that one didn't. That one stuck where it was supposed to. Let's try and do it again. You see, it's one of these ones that's not 100% reproducible. If I move it there, no, that worked as well. Let's try another one. Let's put it down there. It could be something to do with the fast dropping. It could be something to do with the various rewrites of the collision code that I've done over the last few weeks. It might be something else entirely. I notice now that there's a part of the collision rectangle that's testing on the left-hand side here, and it's one cell too high. And now I wonder if it will fall down. No, it didn't. Well, what do you know? Let's try another one. I swear this happened not more than 3 minutes ago. The blocks decided to fall through the bottom of the grid, and it only seemed to happen on the 2x2 grid. Oh, there it goes. It's fallen through, and something popped up on the bottom left just there as it was doing it. So this could be an interesting one to reproduce. If it doesn't happen all the time, then I've got to figure out the exact conditions which cause it to occur. You see, that one didn't do it. I bet it's going to be difficult to get them to do it. I wonder if that one will. Yeah, that one slid through and something popped up on the bottom left. Okay, so what I'm going to do is dropping blocks can sometimes stick. 2x2 blocks can sometimes fall into the bottom of the grid. I'm going to focus on this collision test area, which is being calculated in the code, and it's drawn by the grid. And I think it's this: get grid index positions for block collision. And what that does is it tries to figure out the positions in the grid, that is the indexes, so 0 bottom left, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I forget how many there are horizontally, about 13 or 14, so 15 is there, 16, 17 and so on. And it returns the list of indexes as an array, and then something renders them in a highlighted color, so a slightly more red color there. And it takes a block, and it takes its position and rotation. And where is it called? So it's called out of game. So grid indexes. Yeah, so this is part of the collision testing loop that I currently have inside game. So we are calling getGridIndexPositions for block collision on a temp block. What's this temp block? Okay, so we're creating a block. We're setting its position to cell pos. Okay, what are we doing here? Let me just. Oh no, this is inside my mouse testing code. Yeah, so the mouse testing code is interesting because that, in that instance, for the most part, the collision block is correct. If I just set to true and jump back. So what happens is, as the block moves around, you can see it does overlap those 9 cells appropriately, although it doesn't, I can't seem to get it on exactly the right boundary for it only overlapping 2 columns, so it shouldn't really display the collision testing in the column to the right there or the column to the left there if I can get it exactly in the column, but it does. Let's see. For the most part, that's okay. And in theory, when the block starts, it should be exactly on a boundary, because the very first block is positioned somewhere new block with not mouse test. Here we go. So it's definitely blocks wide divided by 2 and blocks high, and new block works out the exact grid X and grid Y values. Oh, I should probably just make those consistent. By multiplying it by block size being 50. So that they should be exactly 50 pixels. So block type, add child. Okay, I wonder if multiples. It's worth remembering that block size is 50, I think, because multiples of 50 are going to be what I care about when I'm looking in the debugger. So I am going to jump into the debugger and just see where these blocks are in terms of their actual pixel positions. So let's start the debugger. Let's break somewhere in the update. So we're in game, clear keys. This must be update, isn't it? Yes, here we go. So let's just, that's what this block there. So self.block. Let's see if I can figure out the position of self.block. Be quiet tonight. Nobody's logging in. Let me just check that I am live streaming. Usually 1 or 2 people arrive before or fairly early on. Yeah, I'm definitely there. I'm on the live coding TV page. Oh, featured as well. Must be quiet tonight. Everyone's got something else to do. Right, or someone else to watch. Jump back to my channel. I don't actually want to watch myself and play back because the speakers will go all funky. And we get lots of feedback. Anyway, let's dive in. Or dive back in. I'm looking at self.block and I want to see what its position is. Parent rotations. Oh, that's interesting. I've got rot and rotation. Yeah. Oh no, my rot is 0, 1, 2, and 3, meaning the 90-degree variations around the circle. Who's joining? Regal, good to see you. Thanks for being the first person to join tonight. I've been chatting away to myself for a good 8 minutes now, and nobody was joining. I was just thinking, well, I say thinking, I'm just actually doing a bit of debugging and trying to figure out why some glitches are occurring at the moment in my dropping blocks. And I think it's to do with the fact that this collision rectangle or collision area that's being calculated isn't quite, that doesn't quite match where the block actually is. You see there's an extra row of grid cells on the right hand column here which shouldn't be there, or that aren't necessary for testing, and that one got stuck there when it shouldn't have. So I'm just delving into the actual block positioning code at runtime to see if anything interesting is going on in terms of the the actual X positions. So I'm looking at self.block. Let's just dig into that. I should be have a position. There we are. There's underscore position. That's presumably part of the Cocos2d-JS object, and it's definitely 350. So it's got to be multiples of 350. Sorry, not multiples of 350, multiples of 50, because my block size is 50. So 50 pixels, 0 should be there. And as I move it about, actually, let's add a bit of code in that I can just break on nice and easily. Bottom of the update loop probably is the best place. Oh, welcome cryptography. Good to see you. Cool name. Do you know anything about cryptography? I've read a couple of books over the years, but I've never really figured it out much. I think it's definitely an area of computer science that if you know a lot about, you're certainly in demand, or could be in demand. I'm trying to figure out where the best place to stick my self.block get position. There it is. Actually, I could just break on that, can't I? Current block position. What line was it? View. Somewhere here I must be able to view line numbers. Line numbers. There we go. 208. Right, start again. Not there. Let's get it on the screen so I can see it. Right there. Right, so 350. That's what I was expecting, yeah. Let's shift it back one place. 300. It should be 0, yeah. So it's only ever getting 50 added or subtracted to it every time through the update loop, where I'm pressing the keys for left and right. So it should never be on a fractional number. It should always be integer based. Obviously the y value is incrementing slowly, or decrementing slowly, one or the other, as the block drops down. So that's all fine. So these ones are fine. Let's see if we can get a 2x2. Actually, what I'm going to do now is just change this so that we get a new block at the start. New block 0, new block number 1, I think. Yeah, one like that. So that's, yeah, it's all 350. That's what I'm expecting. I shift it around a bit. It shouldn't ever not be on a multiple of 50 as its position. Yeah, 400. Right. I suppose I could put a catch in for that to see if it ever did do that. Oh, and that one disappeared off below the bottom of the screen, like I'm trying to catch as well. That's another glitch I'm trying to catch, and to see what it's doing. So they're okay. So we've got 50 by 50 high regal. 300. Right. Anyway, the list of squares, these highlighted red cells in the grid, they come out of a particular function in grid called getGridIndex positions for block collision. And what happens in the game loop is nope, that's it. I just wanted to unselect that. Right, so inside the update, so not inside here, we want to go into another one. Is it only there? Maybe it's only there. So where, right, where are we? So this is collide block with grid data. So where's that called from? This is called from collide block, and collide block with grid bounds and grid data, and collide block must be called out of here somewhere. So that's my, here we go. So this collide block is called at various points when it's dropping down, moving to the moving sideways, X or Y, That's a normal, that's the moving down bit. So that's fast drop. So we test it there, we test it there, we test it also again there, and then we go into the mouse moving bit, which we don't care about. In fact, I'm just going to comment that out so I don't confuse myself. There we go. If it's all grey in the file editor there, I know I'm not looking at that particular bit of code. So collide block, and also we must use indexes here. So grid collision squares. Now that we're in grid here. So grid collision squares. These are the draw. This is the draw node, which this is what highlights those red grid squares there, and it's set up inside check block with grid data. What happens to it? We basically just, I suppose, should think it should be cleared. Let's just see where it's called. So it's new draw node, add child. Ah, it does. Don't know why I didn't spot that before, but it's cleared. And then we call, or before that, get grid index positions for block collision is called, and then we loop over those indexes, get grid position for index, and then we draw a rectangle which sets up the rectangle right. So I'm going to break inside grid.js at line 348 and see what it's coming back with. Grid.js. Had a really busy weekend this weekend. Did loads of things. Quite tired yesterday and today. And today I spent all day soldering up some small circuits for my strip of RGB LEDs that I'm going to use for feedback. I've got my hat, and I'm going to wrap the LEDs around the hat and have them hooked into the feedback functions I've got in my chatbot here. If I type in rate, then you can see nobody's rated me at the moment, but if somebody does rate me, then I shall get the hat of feedback. Where's my hat gone? There it is. The hat of feedback can be glowing with different coloured LEDs. Excellent. Somebody rated me. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And so I've had the LED strip for quite a while, and I only got 50% of support. Though I've got to do better, I think. Oh, you can rate as well, and it averages out the different ratings between people. So I think if you do a 5, I should get somewhere between the middle. Yeah, 28%. My light strip is now hooked up to a little box which actually hooks up to the internet. It's a Spark core, or a particle core, little tiny microcontroller which has Wi-Fi and drives the LEDs. But I haven't written the code for it yet, so that'll be next few days. I shall write the code. But I prototyped the circuit on a breadboard, and then I transferred it to some actual strip board and soldered it all together. And I've been soldering all day, and my office smells of solder. How fast does the block rate? How fast does the block fall when the game level speed increases? Well, I haven't worked that out yet. My old game increased the speed of the block as the levels progressed. There were 50 levels in the original game, plus the infinite levels as well, and that was, so the speed increased over time. It'll just be a fairly simple linear increase, nothing complicated. We'll just play test it a bit when the time comes. Anyway, back to get grid index positions for block collision, my fantastically verbosely named function. It was 345 in grid.js. 345. 345 here, right. I might as well go for there, I suppose. So, when this loops down, for some reason I'm getting 9 cells. So yeah, we've got that. Let's expand that a little bit. So the indexes is, where's it gone? There. Oh, we've got 11 objects. I wonder if they're, that's interesting. I wonder if there's duplication going on. Block cell 2. So that's the cell type, yeah. So grid index 315, 320. I know what I'll do. let's just make it a bit easier. I will put the block in the bottom left of the grid and break it just as it hits the bottom. There we go, right. So my indexes are index 0, which is the very bottom left of the grid, then 0, then 14, which is the next one up, then we've got 1, 15, 2, 16, then we've got 14 again, then we've got 28, then we've got 15, 29, so it's the 28, 29 and 30 are the ones on the right hand. Oh no, they're the ones on the top row. It's 3, 0, 1 and 2, sorry, so 2, it's, yeah, so there was definitely some duplications in there which probably don't need to be, and then there are also the ones that don't need to be there as well in terms of the right hand column. So let's see where this works it out. Let's break back to there. So we'll go in. So this is quite a complex function, this, and it's one I borrowed from my old code. So it gets a lot of things. It works out lots of things like the tile number. That's the falling tile. It gets the tile bounds. So this is the this is the whereabouts within the definition. So the 2x2 cell definition of that tile, whereabouts it's all contained. Bottom left index, get grid index for point. So bottom left, okay, yep. So that's the grid index of the very bottom left of where the thing is. There's my block size. Get the tile data, yep. Grid size, tile cells wide. So it thinks it's 2 wide, which is correct. And grid dx. So it's we're saying tile cells wide plus 1 plus tile bounds dot left. So why is that then? Why is grid dx 3 when it should probably be 2? Okay, because grid dx is how many cells along the horizontal it loops over. So I mean, I could just try that. Just changing that, getting rid of that 1. See what that does. Where are we? We're in grid.js. Line 212. So, what happens if I do that? What did I change there? Can't remember. So that's given me the correct overlap with the grid. At least it looks like it's correct. Yep. I think what was happening was when I was testing with the mouse moving around, it wasn't doing the right thing. So I just probably fiddled around with some numbers and stuck that 1 in there and discovered that it then worked. So let's... I see, that was interesting. So that has the... if you go back that way, it seems to be 2 when it should only be 1. So I wonder what's going on there. Let's go back to putting in block 0. So while it's rotated that way round, everything's fine. It knows there's only 1. While it's rotated that way round, then it's 2 wide, which is fine. But that way round, it should be 1, but it's not. So let's break and see what's going on. Actually, I could put a breakpoint in here, couldn't I? But we'll just carry on for now. So grid says tile cells wide. What's tile bounds? So we've got left. Okay, we've got left and right. I bet it doesn't take into account the right boundary in this instance. So tile cells wide is only 1 at this point. In fact, why am I even caring about tile cells wide? What I want to do is do I want right minus left? See, that's what I've done. Yeah, tile cells wide is how many it is. So why am I adding left onto it? Ooh, I wonder. So left. So tile cells wide is how many wide it is. Grid dx is how many I want to test across. But actually I want to start on the left bound, don't I? I've got x here. What I need is the, let's see, actually I can start on the left, can't I? I think I can put tile bounds.left in there. Okay, let's see what that does. Clicking on things a bit wrong. Okay, 2. Okay, so now we've got 0 at that point, which isn't quite what I want either. Let's go into tile cells wide is 1. Grid dx is 1. Of course, that's going to cause that to fail straight away. It's less than or equal to grid dx. Could be. I'm just thinking, because obviously tile bounds.left is 1, grid dx is 1. It's got to at least go through 1 time, hasn't it? But maybe that was where the +1 came in. What's going on? Is it crashing? Oh yeah. Run the command of undefined. What's going on there? Did I break something? Very odd. Okay, so now we've got yeah. So now it's wrong in the other place. Why does it keep going wrong? So now we're going to get tile cells wide. So tile cells wide is 1. So I definitely don't want +1 there. But what I do want to do is, hi the Destroyer, good to see you. So we're starting at tile bounds.left. And I could be tile bounds.left. Keep on doing that. I keep hitting Control arrow and it shifts my desktop. Since I'm only developing this game a couple of times a week at the moment, I'm not using my Mac much for any other things, so I don't have time to get really annoyed by these little glitches. Oh, hi, Amanda Nuggets, good to see you. And they don't annoy me enough to fix them the once or twice that I always do. I always do it on every stream. I click the wrong button and end up shifting my desktops around. Maybe I should write that in my to-do, actually. So, what are we doing now? Okay, that looks better. So now, tile cells wide is correct, and we want to work horizontally the number of cells there actually are within the block. Okay, so that's good. Let's see if some of the other blocks match as well. Okay, so these should all be the same because they're all 2 by 2. Okay, that one's similar to the other one. Okay. So one of the things earlier was that these blocks were falling down below the bottom of the grid. So let's see if I can reproduce that as well as the other one where they get stuck. Or it may be that if I'm really lucky, fixing that one glitch, so now that the collision testing is only done properly. Oh, that one went through, but that's okay. I know why that is. Let's just reset the game. So yeah, it may be fixing that particular glitch with the calculating of the collision squares, or the collision points in the grid will work and have fixed all my issues. It's one of the things. I think the theory is called developing with broken windows. If you try, and it's like the theory goes that if you have an old building and it's abandoned and no one uses it, if anyone smashes a window, like a vandal smashes a window, then if the council fix that window, then the chances are that it'll be a very long time before any other ones are broken, because people see a building with fixed windows. Even though they know it's abandoned, they don't break any more, apart from particularly zealous vandals that then do come along occasionally. But what happens is, if the council don't fix the window and they have one broken window, other people come along who might not necessarily normally be vandals, but they decide to start smashing windows. And eventually the building is completely ruined and all the windows are smashed. So if you expend a small amount of effort to maintain the windows in an abandoned building, then the whole place looks much better because of it. Ideally, if it's an abandoned warehouse or something like that, or an unused warehouse, then eventually someone will come along and rent it and start a business in that space. I'm talking of UK councils and things like that. And the similar thing happens with code. If you leave bugs in your code and you ignore them or you just work around them, you end up with more bugs, because the similar thing sort of happens. You just start patching up, and that patching up isn't really a robust thing to do. So you end up just bugs after bugs. So as you go along, if you have the luxury, and of course not everybody does, because they might be under deadlines and have pressures to deal with things. If you have the luxury, like I do, of making sure these bugs are all fixed, then that's a good thing. So we haven't had any getting stuck yet. No, that's good. Now, trouble is, both of these bugs were intermittent. They weren't always going to happen. Hi, Grabby Juice, good to see you. There it goes. That one fell through. So that's definitely still a problem. And the other one to do with the getting stuck as well. If I shift it around a bit, yeah. So what's going on with the one at the bottom? Let's see. What's the reproducible state? That was an L-shaped one, wasn't it? Which is, what's the L-shaped tile? I think it's tile number 2. So let's go and stick those in. New block number 2. So it's down here, and that one's stuck okay. So I wonder, is it to do with the fast dropping or not? So the fast dropping should drop fast, and as it gets to within the last cell, the collision detection will trigger, so it actually stops the fast dropping occurring. So you see it slow down ever so slightly at the end, but sometimes it doesn't. I wonder why that is. Ooh, hi. I shall pronounce your name with a Z, so I'll call you Zenetics. Good to see you. I have no idea how you pronounce that with an X. Anyway. It's like Xerxes, isn't it? Excellent. Yeah, so that one fell through, and the other one didn't. It's when... I don't know why I said Xerxes. The last thing I read about Xerxes was it was an XML parser from IBM. Why did that... not Xerxes. Where did that come from in my head, I wonder? The Apache Xerxes project. XML parser. Maybe it was originally from IBM and Apache took it over, or vice versa. Maybe I used it when I was at IBM and then something. Anyway, strange. My study still smells of soldering today. Who is a PHP regex expert that is able to help me? My brain is melted. Yeah, mine's pretty melted today. In fact, it's literally melted because I've been soldering. Well, no, not as melted as my little finger is because I burnt myself. But I did finish all my soldering. Personally, I just go to one of the online regex tools, Google forum, online regex tool. I think there's probably regex 101, regex tester, regex pal. God, there's dozens of them. There's a good one I always come across that looks really nice, and you can live insert regexes. Yeah, something like that. So test string, and if you just do I don't know, what's the beginning of the line? T dot star. Yeah, see, and it matches. Whereas if you do S, it doesn't match. Anyway, so just go and use a tool like that, and also it gives you all sorts of good help along the way. Okay, so that fell in the bottom. I'm trying to reproduce this problem and see if it's reproducible consistently. Is it that bottom right-hand corner? This is looking good. It's definitely done it twice. Third time, and that's my. I'm calling it reproducible if it happens a third time. Yeah, it did, right. So it's that bottom right-hand corner. Let's see. It's going to be part of probably the code I was just looking at. Collide block, is it? Here we go. Collide block with. It shouldn't be collide block with grid data. It's collide block with grid bounds, and it's this one that's possibly returning 0 when it shouldn't be. So let's give that a go and see what's going on. Where's the code? 296 in grid.js. Oh, thanks for the follow, Zenetics. Much appreciated. Grid.js 293, wasn't it? A collide block with grid bounds. Yeah, that comes out all the time. Let's see. Refresh that. Right. So why is that hitting there when it should be bailing out at possibly this one? So new pos 600. Yeah. So y is negative -17. So bounds.bottom. What have we got? We've got bottom bounds of 1. Oh, okay. So why is bottom bounds of 1? That's wrong. That should be 0 because that particular square fills its 2x2 cell completely. So why is get tile bounds giving us the wrong thing here then? Right. So this bottom bound. So grid pos, what's it doing? Grid size -1 minus y. Y should be 0, I think, at this point. Yeah, it is. I just spotted it there. The Chrome debugger augments the screen with all sorts of stuff, so it's kind of busy and difficult to look at sometimes. So you've got to focus on it. Grid size. Why am I adding X? Oh, actually, yeah, it's the grid pos. So grid pos is 2. Rotation grid pos. Ah, okay. That's interesting. Determine the lower bound. See, it didn't trigger at that point because the block is defined in a certain way. Where's block? It's defined like that. 0, 1, 2, and 3. I wonder if that was why. If it doesn't equal 0 and y is less than bb, then it should have triggered on the 0 first. Ah, I know what we're doing. We're determining the left and right bounds by going along the x and the y, but we can't do the up and lower ones at the same time because they need to be. The algorithm is supposed to be looping along. So actually, so where it loops up and down, so it goes along the x, and then the height of the inner loop is the y. So it loops over. It's difficult to describe this, but what it's doing is it's looping. Let's see if I can describe it. If I can describe it, then I can understand it, hopefully. So what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to loop vertically from the left-hand edge in until it gets to a block that's solid. And that could be anywhere in the left-hand column. And if it doesn't find one, it goes to the next column and so on. And it's when that stops that it finds one. And because the inner loop is working on the vertical lines along the y-axis, I need to find my bit of code now. Where is it? It was collide block. Is it collide block with grid data? No. It was getBounds, isn't it? Yes, tile and block.getBounds. So because this inner loop is going along the y, you can work out the left and right bounds successfully, and it stops as soon as it hits a solid block. But I can't do the upper and lower bounds because it might hit one or not. I need to redo this loop with y and then an x as the inner loop so that it's working tightly along the horizontal until it hits one. So I think what I can do is pinch this. Now, this is one of those candidates for optimization as well. Hopefully, I can just get rid of all this at some point or pre-calculate it all. So we've got 2 loops, yeah, and some statements inside. We've got that, but I want the y, then the x, and I can only calculate these upper and lower boundary ones inside here. Right. So, collide with grid bounds. So bounds, there we go. So bottom and left is 0. Right, interestingly, top should probably be 2. Although I don't actually need to, I don't use top. I'm pretty sure I don't use top anywhere. It should be 2. Because work out the number of grid cells from the bottom left that are empty of filled triangles. So bottom and left, so the right and the top should be calculated from the top right. That are empty. So right, yeah, from the right is 2, from the bottom is 0, and I think the top should be, in this case, 2, but it doesn't matter because I don't use top anywhere. I'm going to see if that fixes my bug, then I'll go and work out top correctly. Okay, so definitely it was that bottom right hand corner. There it is. Right, it's sticking on the bottom now. Now, could that have been causing the other bug where they were sticking on the side? I wonder. Probably not, because the bug where blocks were sticking when it was coming down on the side of a block when it shouldn't. I mean, that would point to something being tested to the left or right. So if the collision is testing to the left here, then it would get stuck if it triggered true. But that particular bug was was in the top and the bottom boundaries. So if I do that, okay. That top boundary actually might explain why sometimes the smaller cells or the smaller tiles have a collision area that's too high or too tall. Okay, they're definitely not falling off the bottom. Okay, let's go back to random blocks. Trying to find the new block at the start. There we go. 0. Right. Time for a little sip of tea. Did my entire stream on Thursday, I think it was. Didn't have a sip of tea at all. So it was totally cold by the time I've finished. That's been there 45 minutes now, but it's still a bit warm, so it's okay. See what happens if I do that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Seems pretty stable at the moment. Will that get down there? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, nothing appears to be getting stuck at the moment. But it shouldn't. It's going to take a long time to actually determine if that bug's really fixed. I'll leave that for now. Assume it is, and go and look at those upper bounds in that particular. Oh, there's a good one. That rotate didn't work there. Although I suspect that was to do with overlapping triangles not calculated correctly yet in some circumstances. That's my next bit of work, to get all of the new collision code that I wrote that properly takes into account the triangles hooked up into the game logic. or into the update loop at least. All right, could spend hours doing that. In fact, I think I will, but after the stream. Let's go back to this upper boundary routine. So get tires block.get tile bounds. So just out of interest, there was me saying I don't use the top boundary anywhere. I better make sure I don't actually use the top boundary. It is called top, isn't it? Yes. So lots of references to .top in all of the Cocos2d-JS classes, but my own project classes always appear first in the search, so there's definitely no reference to .top anywhere. Let's just check and make sure. .bottom. Yeah, so there's my grid, and then other ones. Okay. So, do I care about .top? It should be the inverse of the bottom. So here we've got y times grid size plus x. It's that simple. But we're going from the bottom, so it's actually the same as this one, isn't it? That'll be the same. That's the bottom bound. Yeah. Determine the top or upper bound. So that grid pos, grid size. Y is 0. I need to remember how my blocks are defined. Whether they're I need to go back. I need to go and watch one of my earlier streams because I'm sure I probably carefully figured this out, but looks like I didn't document it. Let's see. We've got grid data 31, 31, 31, 0. That looks to me like it should be. Let's go and put that in as 3. Ooh, hi, Rupinero. Good to see you. No, it was 2. So 31, 31 is the top, 31, 0. So that's the top row, and that's the bottom row. So actually, the blocks go like that. I might just do that on these ones. So when this first one comes down, it's defined in the left-hand row, sorry, left-hand column of the 2x2 cell area that makes up the block. So let's go back into game, just put this to 0, and yeah, so my tile is outlined in sort of green there, or in the single outlines, and that's the left-hand 2 columns, and that pointy triangle is the triangle 4, which is that one, yeah, and then 31 below it. So that's definitely how that works. It might seem complicated, all this defining blocks and tiles with these triangle numbers, but there's a good reason for it, and that's when we get to the point where large groups of blocks of the same color fuse together in the grid when they land, and when you put one block of the same color next to another block of the same color. I'm not going to get any here. Here we go. So those 2 triangular blocks would fuse together into a larger one, and the same with these 2 red ones. They fuse into completely arbitrary shaped blocks, and then at some point when you're playing with the game, you can drop a pointy block onto a flat block and it will shatter, and then when the blocks shatter, the whole stack collapses, and the collapse is done via those merged blocks or clusters, all falling using the same logic as the dropping block. So all of the grid data gets transferred into and out of dynamic falling blocks, and then all the logic is run to see the whole stack collapse. And it should work in a nicely spectacular fashion, but it means that you end up really quickly being able to duplicate a fairly complex pattern from the grid into falling blocks, separate data structures, by just looping over the arrays and copying values that are the same or that match. Anyway, that's just an aside there. We'll get to that in the coming months. So anyway, where was I? So my corner piece should be working out the boundary, which is somewhere around here. Oh, hi, KSVFFF. Good to see you. I've completely lost a bit of code I was going into. It's getBounds. Jump to it, right. So the left boundary is simply worked out from x and y times grid size plus x, and then the right boundary, y times grid size plus grid size minus 1 minus x. So that's going in from the right hand edge. As x increases, it comes backwards. So the bottom boundary is grid size minus 1 minus y. So it's going from the top, and for some reason it's going from the top and working down. Why is it doing that? Hi VKint, good to see you. You'd think that'd be the other way around, didn't you? You'd think it would work from the bottom and go up. Ah, no, it is going. It is doing that. I need to split this window in two because tools, window, tile horizontally. Ooh, didn't want to do that. That'll do, right. So down here, where's block gone? Right. So looking at the bottom boundary, where y is 0, yes, the indexing into the array takes the grid size minus 1 minus y, yeah, so it does do that bit there. So grid size is 2, so 1 times grid size is 2, so 2 plus x is 0. So that's the first one it will test. And then it will go upwards. So y is increased to 1, which means grid size 2 minus 1 minus 1 is 0 plus x. So yeah, it'll go to there next, which is what I wanted to do. And then the top boundary, it should go downwards. So it does y, it's literally y times grid size plus x. Yeah, so that's actually working out the right positions, but it's got y. I know what it is. It should be. So this one should be grid size minus y, and that one should be y, shouldn't it? So the top boundary should be 0, and the bottom boundary. Yeah, so why was it getting the boundaries wrong? Let's go back to. I'm just going to fix this bug, and then that'll be those two, or at least figure out why. what this top boundary is, even though it's not actually used. I want to know why the top boundary is calculated wrong. So let's break there. So left and right, we've worked out at left boundary 0, right boundary 2. So grid data, could it be the rotation? Grid data rotation 0. So it's 49, 49, 49, 0, which is what we worked out. Block. Here at 49, 49, 49, 0, 49 being 31 hexacores. And then, so the bottom or lower bound works out the grid pos is 2, 0, 1, 2, which is 0, 1, 2 there. And if it doesn't equal 0, and y is less than bb, so yeah, and in this case y is 0. So our lower bound is 0. And I'm expecting our upper bound to be 2. Which would be what I said earlier, which was grid size minus y, wouldn't it? In this instance. So this does actually trigger, but it should be grid size minus y in this case, because we're working out the upper bound from the top. Okay, so let's fix that. Grid size minus y, and in a similar fashion to the right boundary is grid size minus x, and the left boundary is x, the top boundary is y, sorry, the bottom boundary is y, the top boundary is grid size minus y. Does that make sense to me? It's left and bottom are the reference point that we're taking from, so the inverse is going to be the right top. Yeah. So this isn't going to make any difference, and the code should still just work, but at least now my boundary checking should be correct. Zero, 0, 2, 2, yes. Let's see if we get another block. Oh, there we go. Let's do that. So boundary here, 0, 0, 1, 2, which is what I'd expect. If I rotate it, it'll change. There we go. Rotate it, it's going to be left 0, right 2, bottom 1, top 2. Yes, because it's at the top edge of the cell that's defining it. And that might explain why that additional block is tested below, because the boundary, the block is defined within a 2x2 cell that's actually, yes, it's, you can just about see the green and blue outlines. So that also explains that, which is probably useful. I wonder if I can fix that as well, because I can use that knowledge of the boundaries to work out how far up and below, or above and below the block that the collision testing code should be checking. But I think I might give that a miss, because that's going to be a bit boring. What I'll do is I'll figure that out for myself and then just mention it at the beginning of the next stream, because otherwise I'm just going to be staring at it and probably just guessing by trial and error. And if it, in all likelihood, I'll fiddle with it and break something, and then it'll take me another half an hour to do that. It's always the way when you think, oh, I'll just knock that off in the next few minutes, but it won't be a few minutes, it'll be half an hour, and I can't really spend the next half an hour doing it tonight. I've got to sort of stick to the hour for my stream, but I might have some time in the next day or two before Thursday afternoon stream. Yeah, so next stream is going to be Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. That's when I do it. 3 o'clock UK time. and then we'll fix that the collision rectangle calculations using my new correctly implemented bounds function, so getBounds, and that should allow us to avoid having these extra rectangles that obviously don't need to be tested for collision. You can see here, so this one's okay, this one's working fine, but the blocks that are only 2x1 end up with extraneous testing, extra rectangles, sorry, extra cells. There we go. And that one's all right. It's 2 by, yeah, there we go. So you can see the blocks at the top here definitely don't need testing, and the blocks at the bottom definitely don't need testing because they're not overlapped by the actual solid bit of the tile. And it just reminded me that before I check the code in, I should put that back to 0 so that I get the correct starting block. Right. Quite pleased with that. Fixed what I think was the glitch with the falling below the bottom of the grid, and it looks like it's no longer sticking. Tiles aren't sticking against each other. I shall play that for a bit more and fix the this thing for the next stream. And fairly soon I might actually think about putting a build of this up so everybody can play it. I definitely need to do that. I need to start getting some feedback. And if other people, if you watch the stream, you can actually go and play it. You know, you might be able to find bugs or reproduce things more easily or more quickly. So I will definitely have to get my build process working to generate code that gets uploaded to AquaStax.com at some point soon as well. That might be a nice diversion from all of this collision testing and triangle block grid code that I've been doing for the last several weeks now. Actually get something that's playable on the internet. Right, so with that I will call it a day. Actually, I will commit the code first. Is there a refresh button for this? Because I noticed when I committed last week, I noticed an hour and a bit ago when I booted my Mac up again that 2 files hadn't actually been committed. Anyway, dropping blocks can sometimes stick when they're not supposed to, but blocks can sometimes fall. Things hopefully fixed. What's the date? The 24th of January. I still got to fiddle with the collision detection, and then another date. Block, grid. I shall uncomment that stuff out in game. Yeah. So the only trouble, because there's no sort of actual mechanism for defining constants, the editor doesn't realize that that should all be sort of grayed out or hidden, because that's defined as false. Anyway. Actually, before I go, let's just see that this still works. Oh, I closed Chrome, didn't I? I'm hitting my macro key, and it didn't jump into Chrome because I closed it. So what have we got? We've got, oh yeah, look at that. See, it's not. I've now broken the collision testing here. That's because that should be collision. That should be colliding within the triangle there. It should be going green for slope collision. That's okay. That's going purple for an axis collision. So is that. But there's no green slope collision going on. Wonder why. Oh, there's one. Yeah, it's that bit. So there it is. And it's you can see it's not. It's the testing rectangle or the testing area. It's that indices hasn't moved to the right. Now the reason for that is I think something that I tried to put in before within the indexes function. Get grid index positions for block collision. Here it is. So determine the overlapping cells properly doesn't quite work yet. This bit here, dx, grid dx, has to be incremented if the block position isn't exactly on the grid boundary lines, exactly a multiple of 50. So if I do this, if pos dot x mod block size does not equal 0, then grid dx plus 1, I think, should give me, yeah, so that's given me the overlappingness. And if I can get it exactly on a 50, I don't expect I can I? No. So that triggers the slope collision there because it's testing the right positions. Does it there? Let's just reload that. So when it's, yes, you can just about see that those two highlighted rectangles, or highlighted squares, are only the two, because when the block is positioned initially, it's exactly on one of the boundaries. I wonder if I can just tweak this code so that it recognizes the left and right buttons whilst using the mouse move as well. So test to see if the falling block can move down, can move sideways. I should be able to move it sideways. Can I do that? Oh, I just moved it with the mouse. Oh, that's annoying. I have to click on the window to focus it. But by doing so, I'm clicking the mouse. Can I just do that? Nope. I'll just move it to a different position. It's in game, in the init, so it's just up here. Blocks to start with, temp plus blocks wide, divide by 2. Let's just do temp. Oh. There they go. They're separated by a bit of a gap now, and you can see that when that block is exactly on the boundary, then it doesn't overlap on the right. And actually, the same could be said for the Y as well, couldn't it? Less than grid size. So I wonder. See, we're definitely going down 3. So grid size must be 3. That can't be right. Grid size has got to be 2. I'm just wondering why it's gone below the line there, when if that's exactly on the tile Y boundary as well, it doesn't need to go below, only when it moves not on exact boundaries. Let's just see if I can figure that out as well. Oh, I'm getting sidetracked. I should stop. I'm going to leave that now and do it another day. In fact, I'll make a note of myself. Make a note of myself. Investigate. Correct grid index values in get grid index position for block collision. There's something else I was going to check in there as well. Relating to exact grid positioning. I'll try and remember what the other thing was, but it's gone from my brain. Config, let's go back to false. Okay, so while the blocks are on the boundaries correctly, then that's fine. It doesn't matter. Still works. Okay, now I'm going to commit the code. F5, Mac R, refresh. Ooh, reset to commit. No, I don't do that. I just wondered if there was a refresh button. Full synchronized view, refresh. F5 it is refresh, right. Commit. Hopefully fixed the glitch where blocks would fall through or into the bottom of the grid, and fingers crossed the getting stuck when falling next to blocks already inserted in the grid. Needed to correctly work out the tile boundaries. Right, commit and push. Okay, thanks very much, Zenetics, for sticking with me till the end there. Do appreciate it. Thanks for the follow as well. I will close the stream now and maybe see you on Thursday afternoon if you're around. If you're at work or doing something else, then I may see you next Tuesday. Right, let's jump back to my intro screen and I'll see you again soon.